So currently we're trying to get to flank the enemy. They're going to be coming at us with tanks. We know they have APCs and ATGMs from the reconnaissance report, but we don't know how many other vehicles they have because our recon was turned back, so says the game. So what we're doing right now is we're using the lay of the land to try and make it toward that hilly, grassy area, the trees up there. We're trying to get there without being seen. Now we are seen, and this is the most dangerous part of the journey here because everything on that side can still see us. The APC isn't too big of a threat, it's just got a machine gun, but you might see on the right there's an ATGM, and that's the reason why we're making this mad dash. Once we're behind the cover of these buildings between us and the enemy, we get a little bit more distance to put the fold of the terrain between us and the enemy so they won't be able to see us. You gotta be able to spot things like that because you don't need a 100-foot tall hill to hide behind. Even this gentle slope here, if we're far enough from the crest, it's gonna block the view of the enemy. Now, against a real human opponent, they'd be able to call in and say, hey, the tanks are on the move, and they'd get their own tanks to start flanking us and try to come up behind us. But that still wouldn't be a problem for us, because right now what we're trying to do is take these ATGMs out of the battle. If we engage the enemy, the tanks, the APCs, and the ATGMs all at the same time in the same battle space in their prepared kill zone, we're going to get massacred. So by moving to the flank and forcing them to react to us, it's a way of kind of evening the playing field a little bit. So yeah, even against humans, this would still be a good strategy, though we might have to be worried right about now of enemy tanks coming up behind us. So we would have had to maybe park behind one of these other folds that was closer and started engaging whatever came at us from there. But this is where we've been trying to get to. We wanted to get to this spot here because, as you can see with this slope, we can go up, see where the enemy is, roll back down to where we are in cover, and if things get really hairy, we can try to disappear into these trees off to our right. So the thermal gives us a good advantage on being able to spot things that might be in the tree lines further away. But before we can even worry about that, these tanks show up here. My AI helper is engaging some of them, and the enemy appears to be firing at him instead of me, which is good. This is where I had a little bit of a computer glitch, stopped me from fighting for a couple seconds, but once I solved that problem, we're back in action. I have taken a couple hits. Luckily, most of them are frontal. I'm not entirely sure what messed up that last shot there, though. I'm still relatively new to actually fighting in this game. I have a single-digit number of actual fighting gameplay hours right now. He wanted me to re-engage, but I thought it was damaged enough, and I was more worried about these front vehicles. It'll turn out later that I probably should have fired at it again. Now that looks like it might have been a missile fired. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, that was a missile. I don't know how many times I had to hit this thing before it finally went out. So one thing that's worth doing whenever you're gonna get a chance to not have to fire for a while is restock the ammo, and that's something I didn't do enough of there. I probably could have kept that going. It takes a while to find the remaining enemy vehicles. The first thing we find is this anti-tank missile launcher. And I don't know if machine gun is just generally ineffective or what, but I have the hardest time killing this thing with the machine gun. I lased it. I should be at the right range. But then all of a sudden things are falling short, even though I didn't re-range. And so I'm wondering if maybe when he's like saying doubtful re-engage or whatever, if he's, the commander, is somehow changing my range. Because there were a few times when I was shooting at tanks that previously I had ranged properly, that looked like I was, you know, hitting things in the right area, and then all of a sudden I couldn't hit anything anymore. So I'm wondering if maybe that has something to do with it. Now this is what I was talking about with having those folds in the ground. You're able to pop up to shoot and then get back behind it to where it's going to be a lot more difficult for this guy to hit you. Yeah, see, I didn't notice that that's what's happening. He's calling that out, and it's messing with my aim on the sight. I think there's a setting to turn that off. I may have to do that. And I don't know how many times I'm hitting this guy. I even see the little message every now and then pop up saying that I'm hitting pieces of the gunner, and he just never dies. And finally, my AI ally decides to put a round into him for me. About time on that one. Now, something starts shooting me from the side. Luckily, it's just a little APC, and we get rid of him. Once again, though, really low on ammo, so have to start restocking. It takes forever to locate the remaining enemy. Yeah, it takes forever to locate this guy. Finally get him. I was hesitant to use machine gun even though he ordered me to in the first place because of how bad it went first time. And now all of a sudden, again, I lased him perfectly, but because he called out, I didn't hit the target. I was way off. So switching back to COAX worked out just fine that time. So we locate that last APC.
Identified! Fire! On the way! Fire!
So early on, I wind up with a hit on this T-72, and it actually kills the T-72 behind it. I wind up killing the gunner of that other tank through this first tank that remains relatively undamaged. Now after that, this is where the track gets hit on our little allied tank. They're still in the fight for quite some time. You'll notice that several of these tanks that are killed by our friend, but also that the enemy fires on our friend quite a bit. There are several shots taken at this guy, and he absorbed them. A few of them wind up wounding some crew members and damaging some things. Well, I'd say that was a pretty good mission accomplished there. The terrain helped block the enemy from being able to take shots at us until we were good and ready, and then we were able to deal with them. So even though our allied tank got disabled, I still think we came out of this ahead, took out a lot of T-72s. So worked out pretty good. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and drop us a comment for what you want to see us do next.